There are rooms in hospitals that staff avoid without ever officially saying why. No sign on the door, no warning in the chart. Just a quiet understanding that if you don't need to go in there, you don't. This is one of those rooms. Welcome to Hospital Horrors, where we share unsettling, true-to-experience stories from real hospitals and medical facilities. These are the moments whispered about during night shifts, the incidents that never make it into training manuals, and the experiences medical staff don't forget. Tonight's story comes from a hospital where one room stood out for all the wrong reasons. Room 512. Names and identifying details have been changed for privacy. The hospital itself was older, built decades earlier and expanded in stages. Some wings were modern and bright. Others still carried the heavy quiet of another era. Room 512 was in one of the older sections. It wasn't marked as special. It wasn't isolated. On paper, it was just another patient room, but staff noticed something early on. Patients placed in room 512 rarely stayed long. Some were transferred within hours. Some requested room changes without being able to explain why. Others complained of anxiety, nausea, or an overwhelming sense that they were not alone. Night shift noticed it most. The CNA who shared this story worked overnights regularly and wasn't prone to superstition. Long shifts had taught her to trust routines, not feelings. But room 512 didn't follow routines. It started small. Call lights would activate with no patient pressing them. Staff would respond to the room only to find the patient asleep, hands visible. No explanation. Maintenance checked the wiring. Nothing was wrong. Then the paper towel dispenser started acting up. Late at night, when the hallway was empty, staff would hear the mechanical whir of towels dispensing from inside the room. They would enter to find paper towels piled on the floor. No one had touched the dispenser. Then there was the clock. Room 512 had an old wall clock that staff began to notice during charting. One night, a nurse realized the clock was moving backward. Not fast, not dramatically, just slowly ticking in reverse. Maintenance replaced it. The new clock did the same thing. Eventually, the clock was removed entirely. That should have been the end of it. It wasn't. Staff began reporting temperature changes. Walking past room 512, the air felt colder than the rest of the hallway, like stepping into a different space. One CNA described a wave of dread that hit every time she crossed the doorway, even when the room was empty. Not fear, exactly. More like the feeling you get when you realize someone is standing behind you. The incident that changed everything happened just after 2 a.m. Room 512 was unoccupied that night. No patient, no equipment running. The door was open. The CNA was passing by when she heard movement inside. Not footsteps, breathing, slow, close. She stopped at the doorway and turned on the light. The room was empty. The bed was stripped. No monitors, no IV poles. But the paper towel dispenser activated. One towel, then another. Then the room's call light turned on. From the nurse's station, they could see it glowing. No one was in the room. Security was called. They swept the area, checked closets, bathrooms, and ceiling panels. Nothing. When they reviewed the camera footage later, they saw staff reacting to sounds and movement. But they did not see anything inside room 512. After that night, staff began requesting that room 512 not be assigned unless absolutely necessary. Some refused to enter it alone. Eventually, the room was quietly taken out of rotation. Officially, it was for maintenance. Unofficially, no one wanted to explain why so many experienced staff felt the same unease the moment they stepped inside. Years later, an older employee shared something during a slow shift. Room 512, she said, had once been part of a long-term care wing that handled patients who didn't always have family, didn't always have advocates, and didn't always leave the hospital the way they were supposed to. Records were incomplete. Renovations erased most traces of the old unit. but the room remained. Whether there is a rational explanation for what happened in room 512 is still debated. Faulty wiring, old infrastructure, stress and exhaustion. But staff who worked that unit will tell you the same thing. Hospitals remember. And some rooms don't forget the people who were left inside them. Have a hospital or medical horror story to share. Email hospitalhorrorstories@gmail.com and your story might be featured in a future episode. Until next time, keep the lights on.